The PHP Foundation has just gotten a grant to invest in security. And if you've been following along on this channel, you know that there have been quite some things happening when it comes to security in the past couple of weeks within PHP. And so I would say it's a really good thing that this is happening. And I got a chance to sit down with Volker, who will be in charge of this effort and who will work with many people from within the community and outside the community for the coming 6 months to invest into security in PHP. This ecosystem security team that was announced, what was it? Yesterday.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, Volker, tell me a little bit about it. What's happening there?
So yeah, yesterday we could finally make the announcement that we got some of the grant from the Linux Foundation. So like, as you've surely seen, like AI is changing a lot on how we work, and there's a lot of new tooling coming out and lots of mixed ideas that people have around that of like, what's the quality of the reports. I think Daniel Stenberg from Curl has written a lot of stuff that is both shows what can go wrong if people use these tools incorrectly, but also showcases really nicely what can, like, which insights people can gain from these things. And given that PHP is so fundamental to running the internet, and given how much stuff runs there, it's of course also important for our ecosystem to be secure and to be prepared for what's coming.
Yeah, and I actually found it really nice. Like, it might just be my ego talking, but okay, PHP is a thing and is getting noticed by like this grant now. I guess it's not a full 12 million, of course, going to PHP. That would be nice.
No. I don't think there is like anyone is making a ton of money on this. No. This is like paying for my time for 6 months. This is paying for like some costs that the foundation has and some things around that. And I think that's also fine. The things we get from in collaboration from Anthropic and the usage on Claude and things like that is also nice that is funded.
Yeah. So let me check here, because your official title, it was mentioned, Ecosystem AI Security Engineer in Residence at the PHP Foundation. What does that actually mean? What's your new job description now? Because the next 6 months you're going to do this, right?
Exactly. So there's a couple of things to this. So there is the Alpha Omega security people, and they have people from each year from a lot of ecosystems. Like there is, of course, like in PHP we have WordPress and Drupal and like stuff that runs all the government websites in the US, which means like we've always been on the radar of people. But we also have like so much more with Symfony, Laravel, and all the products that are built on that, and so much of the internet that runs. But that's our ecosystem. And then there is like the Eclipse Foundation, there is the Apache Foundation, there is all the other programming languages, and we all face similar challenges. So one part of my job is what are things that are universal to all languages that we can collaborate on? Where can we be more efficient in leveraging all those insights from all these people on how to actually deal with this stuff? And so I will have like regular meetings with all the other folks. We collaborate on tooling. Some of that is open, like most of that is open source as well, on like how to better scan projects, how to better digest these reports, how like giving people something tangible that they can use themselves, but also giving us the tools to make sure that everything we report to projects in terms of if there is any security vulnerabilities are both manually and machine reviewed as best as they can be, so that we really respect the time of people that receive them. Because like just telling the machine to look at something and then sending those reports out blind is just way too much effort for everyone involved and would be disrespectful to maintainers as well.
So are you going to use whatever tools provided to you to scan big PHP projects and then help those projects to solve potential security issues? That's what I got from the blog post. I don't know if that's accurate enough, but
I would say so. There is both me doing that personally, but there is also me building out the tools for the PHP ecosystem and bringing in all the knowledge from the ecosystem to refine, like, what do you need to really scan a PHP project? Like, what are the threat scenarios? What is usually going wrong there? How do libraries interact? And easy things like to scan a PHP extension, like it's better to have a C compiler and to be able to compile it and run like all the tests against it that it can. And because because that's how PHP extensions are written, and that's something that every ecosystem needs to be, like provide their tool chains in a sensible manner. But yeah, and then also the validation for like here's a report in, like, I'm just going to say, because Sebastian talked about, like, here's a report in PHP unit, and it's like, well, like PHP unit isn't running in production, so that doesn't make much sense. And being able to just know all of these tools just makes it so much easier to triage all these things.
For the past couple of weeks, we got a little bit more security related news in the PHP community. And there was that sidechain attack on one of the composer packages that was luckily caught in time. And then last week there was the GitHub Actions that leaked some tokens. And I got some comments from people saying that oh yeah, so PHP can actually also encounter these kinds of problems. They didn't realize that, or they haven't really thought about it all that much, that yes, PHP is susceptible to vulnerabilities as well and bugs, and it is a really important topic to spend time and money and effort on. And so it seems very well timed that we now have this new role in the PHP community that's gonna help with that, right?
And I think it's also nice and responsible from the vendors of these tools to see their impact, like the impact that their tools might have, and to do something proactive to give some money and to get people involved to make sure we're prepared for this. And because PHP runs so much on the web, like we have so much customer data that we need to keep safe. And like just from the e-commerce perspective alone, like with Pesto Shop and Shopware and Magento, like there's so much money and people's data running through PHP that we owe it to ourselves, I think, to make sure that we're doing the best job we can there.
People often don't realize this, especially if you're not a PHP developer, that the things we're using, like WordPress, Magento, PrestaShop, the things you're mentioning, these are all running on PHP. And this always happens in software, I think, where it's just layers upon layers, and you just forget about the things powering it beneath. Your title has AI in it. Does that mean you will use a lot of AI to find vulnerabilities, or how should I interpret that?
Yes. So there's a couple things. Like the Alpha Omega people have built a project called Scrutineer that is like a harness to use these tools and to prompt them in a sensible and reusable way, to like get a first scan of a project and to get an overview. So that's something I'll be actively doing. There is, of course, everything that we send out gets a manual review and gets like a manual reproduce, and is not just a machine output, but there is like built-in verification steps. So yeah, that's the one part of the AI name, but the other one is also preparing people for like increased AI reports. Like I think from what I'm hearing from a lot of project leads, it's that these days things have already improved a bit, but like half a year ago, when these tools were a bit newer and everyone was experimenting, like people were inundated with like random amount of output that didn't really make so much sense, and then spend a lot of time on GitHub arguing. And I think helping people with guidelines there, or with like better responses there, is very important, especially if you look at the long term, like the long tail. Like I think the Symfony and the Laravel people like have like very well established security practices, and they've been doing this professionally for many years. But we also have like a ton of small projects with like 1, 2, 3 maintainers that don't have the capacity to deal with this stuff. So helping them is also quite important.
Really, really interesting. So it's not just about finding and fixing or reporting stuff, but you also really want, if I'm hearing you correctly, you also really want to help the community level up and be a bit more educated about these topics on how to use these tools so that you actually invest in the future after the 6 months are done.
I think what a lot of these new tools are doing is they lower the cost of creating and finding security issues. And I think the challenge for our community is also how can we reduce the cost of dealing with these problems, and how can we make it easier for people to do that, and how can we maybe help people with content, with insights, with a better way of ingesting what's coming to them, and so people can do the stuff that they love doing and keep being open and contribute and build things together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really nice. I was wondering, like, what do the next couple of weeks look for you? Like, how are you starting with your new job?
Yes. So then for the next couple of days, I'm really excited to see what the response will be on the blog post. Like I'll be looking on all the social media platforms. My email address is in the announcement. So if there is something that you out there as like the author of an open source library would like to talk about, like, please reach out, email me. And I think a lot of my next couple of weeks will be ingesting that feedback and figuring out what's on people's mind the most. So I'm also asking like the community to help me shape what I will be doing with this time, and what people actually like care about, and what people like need, and build something there. And then so that's the part I'm unsure about. That thing I think will depend a lot on what's actually going on in people's minds and what the response will be. And then the other part will be to I want to do like look at as many projects as possible that I can, like both for the PHP project itself and all the extensions, but then also for like all the community libraries, and just see that we use this time that we have now to get as many sensible and digestible reports out there that we can, that makes sense, so that once like more of these, like as these tools get refined and more of this becomes available in 3 to 6 to 12 months, that whatever impact happens then is gonna be like most of the stuff is already taken care of, and people have more of a relaxed take and more already like a bit of an established process for how to deal with this upcoming change.
Okay. So the key now is that the PHP community knows about this and gets involved, basically, is what I'm hearing you say.
It would be very helpful for me to understand what the needs are out there. Like, I mean, of course, we had like weeks of discussions internally, and I have a plan of what I should do, but like I don't want to give you like, now here's my bullet point list of what I think is important, because I don't want to prime people, like, but I actually want to hear what people like, what people think. And I'm going to be busy one way or another, but it would be very nice to be busy on topics that sorted by what people actually care about. So it's going to be interesting to see what we say there, and also what will come from other communities, like a lot of like programming languages that are close to ours, and like Python, like Ruby, and like others have their own struggles and their own announcements, and we'll see what happens there.
It's very interesting how you indeed mentioned like going outside of one programming language as well. I feel like with all the changes happening around us, things are going very fast, and I often feel overwhelmed, to be honest. But at the same time, it's also really nice to see like, hey, here's a group of really professional people who know what they are doing and really care about the tools we have, and are curious to learn like what the new tools might bring, and use it in a way that's really positive and invests back in whatever's here already. So I really like that mindset, and I think it's so valuable to be able to learn from other communities as well, and going outside of what we're used to. For me, that's honestly, it really is a challenge to try to stay up to date with the whole PHP. Even within PHP itself, there is
absolutely
so much going on, and there are so many sub communities that we're now organizing PHP verse in a couple of weeks, and we really try to have a a speaker list that appeals to as wide an audience as possible. But it's so difficult because there are so many. It's such a diverse community out here.
It's and that's the people that talk about it publicly. There's also like so many people that is like, oh, we have this team of like 200 people that do PHP internally that work on this like product that makes a lot of money. Like we just don't talk about the language much. Like there's so many things are going on that it is very hard to stay up to date. So I think this is why it also is great that we have a central place that we can like all these people doing this now can come together and collaborate. And share findings there.
Really nice.
Yeah. But I agree with everything you said. That makes like it's a challenge.
It is, yeah. Speaking of agreeing, by the way, what I really like about Volker, just for the people watching, is that like we've had some talks back and forth. We don't agree on everything when it comes to PHP, but what I just really like is that you're such a respectful and open-minded person, and you're always looking for constructive conversations with people. You're a great person for that. So good job on the foundation for picking you, I would say.
That's so nice of you to say. Thank you. Like, I mean, that also came up in the discussions. Like, I'm not deeply embedded in like any specific community. Like, I think most of my open source work was like PHP unit and some QA tooling around that and code sniffer and like a lot of stuff back then that I think was more foundational to a lot of stuff. And then my work on PHP core itself and like a couple RFCs and tools that are across the ecosystem. Like I'm super grateful to my current employer that allows me to take this time off and like I can come back in 6 months and I still have a job and I can actually do that and they will figure out how to do things without me for a while. But like we also work with like across the whole PHP stack, like no matter the framework or no matter the project that you're running. So it helped that I already like know a lot of projects.
Exactly. You're the right person for the job. Speaking of your current employer, you can name them, by the way. It's Tideways. You work at Tideways, and now you're going to do 6 months with the foundation.
Yes.
Speaking of Tideways, just I want to point it out. They have the best elephant out there. You have the big version behind you. Yes. I see. This is
Modi.
Just a great
there's a raffle on our blog at the moment that people can win some as well. I'm very grateful to Tideways for allowing me this, and Germany has a reputation for being complicated with paperwork and like making myself into an independent contractor just for 6 months and then getting like another job would have been super annoying. So it's nice that Tideways has agreed that they can handle that and I can just stay employed with them. And while that is a bit of effort for us, that makes it so much easier for me. And I'm super happy that they've allowed me to do that.
That's really, really great. Just huge shout out to Tideways then as well. Just happy that this is a thing. What I am curious about, maybe as on a more personal note, but you mentioned that things are changing and at a very fast pace, it feels. And I'm just curious. I talked to a lot of developers, and I'm always curious to learn, like how do you feel as a developer with the things that are changing, driven by AI for the past, we're nearing 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. What are your thoughts about it? How do you feel about it?
There's from a building perspective and from building products and from working on the software that I work on every day, some things have been really great. Like I feel so much more productive in terms of like there's so many little things that you see and that you would like to improve, but you know it's gonna take like 4 hours and it's not really worth it. And now all of these things feel like they're in grasp again, like they're in reach again, and you can actually do something about it. It's like, oh, here's like this little thing that annoys everyone that we never really came around to fixing. And that felt really good. But also on the other hand, it's quite exhausting because you do so much, like not like 5 times more things, but like I feel like we're doing like 2 or 3 times as many like tickets, and there's so many more little things that we can fix now, that it still feels quite exhausting that you don't have this like 2 hours of focus time where you really dig deep into a coding problem.
Yeah.
I think for me, this already feels a bit different because I work across 3-4 programming languages, like with our C and Go and PHP tooling, and then all the management stuff that I do. So I've always been jumping around, but it feels more draining. And I think it's quite important to take a step back and to like really have some time to think stuff through again, and not just accept what like a machine might say, but actually to take your time to have some taste and to do that stuff properly. And I think it's also like a challenge on how do we set up our infrastructure for this? Like, for example, we only run like all the AI stuff we do, we only run in containers, and we only give them read access to our GitHub. And like, I make the commits myself. I know other people like work very differently with that. And how do you work with operations stuff in that? But I like for me, this is all still evolving how we work with these tools. And like one thing that I'm really happy with is putting the thing in a container and giving it full permissions and letting it run a while on its own without me having to babysit it and then evaluating the results like I would get the results from another person, because I still need to like review all the code to make sure that I'm not sending it to my colleagues and making it their problem. And I think there's so much stuff that we're all just figuring out in how to work together. Like, is it okay to write to a mailing list or to an issue tracker with like a long unedited thing? And is this respectful of other people's times? Like, there's so many social things that we're figuring out, but it's also quite interesting in what we can build. And of course, there's like a lot more stuff to talk about in that space, but those are like the things that are the most upfront for how I think developers can struggle with that.
Well, Volker, awesome. I'm wishing you a lot of luck the coming 6 months with the new role. I think it has such a potential to just help the PHP community move forward in a healthy and hopefully also sustainable way, that, you know, with the things you mentioned, where you want to the community to also learn how to better use the tools we have at hand to move to a more sustainable future. That's really nice. So I wish you the best of luck. Let's keep in touch as well. If you folks have questions for Volker, by the way, leave them in the comments and I'll pass you a link to the video so that you can answer yourself.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're not coming to PHPverse, but
sadly, I have already committed to another conference. Yeah.
Maybe next year, and then we can have a chat about how things went the past year. You get what I mean.
So, and thank you so much for everything that you do for the community and for helping me get the word out. And it's highly appreciated.
Now let's work together to make the PHP community just thrive. That's cool. That's what I hope for. So, okay, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and comment down below. And see you in the next one. Bye bye.